What if I told you that the truth isn't what you think it is, that what you believe, what you've been taught, and what you hold as reality might all be carefully designed to keep you comfortable, not conscious? We like to think we want the truth. We tell ourselves we're open to new ideas. But the reality is, most people don't want the truth. They want comfort. They want the illusion that life makes sense, that their choices are truly their own, and that the world operates in a fair and predictable way. Because if the truth were revealed to them, it would shatter everything, and that's why people fear it. Today we're going to uncover why the truth terrifies people, why societies work to suppress it, and most importantly, how embracing truth can give you an unmatched level of power and clarity. But first, let's begin with the most fundamental paradox of truth. The biggest problem with truth is that it rarely feels good. In fact, the more truthful something is, the more uncomfortable it becomes. Think about the hardest truths in life. You're going to die. Most people don't care about you as much as you think they do. The world is unfair, and no amount of complaining will change that. These aren't comforting thoughts, but they are real. And if you can accept them, they become the foundation for strength. But here's the catch. Most people aren't looking for truth. They're looking for confirmation of what they already believe. They don't want to know that the system is rigged, that they've wasted years chasing lies, or that their problems are their own responsibility, because truth forces change. And change is painful, so instead of facing it, people do something else. They reject it. Why does the truth feel so painful? Because it attacks the identity you've built for yourself. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort you feel when confronted with a truth that contradicts your beliefs. When this happens, most people don't accept the new truth. Instead, they fight against it. For example, a smoker knows cigarettes cause cancer, but they tell themselves, "It won't happen to me." Someone in a toxic relationship knows they should leave, but they convince themselves, "It's not that bad." People see governments and corporations lie repeatedly, but they still believe they wouldn't deceive us. Why? Because denial is easier than change. Accepting the truth means you have to take action, and most people aren't ready for that. Why? The truth is designed to be uncomfortable. The truth is like a mirror. It doesn't show you what you want to see. It shows you exactly what is, and this is why people avoid it. Because when you truly see the world as it is, you can never unsee it, and that's the most terrifying part. You realize how much time you've wasted. You see how society has manipulated you. You understand that no one is coming to save you. It's a painful process. But it's also the most liberating one, because once you accept reality as it is, no one can control you. That's why truth is feared, because it makes you independent, and those in power don't want independent thinkers. They want obedient followers, which brings us to the next act, how society keeps you asleep. Because the biggest reason people fear truth isn't just personal. It's because they've been conditioned to fear it. And this conditioning starts from the moment you're born. From the moment you were born, you were placed into a system that told you what to think, what to believe, and how to behave. A system designed not to make you powerful, but to make you obedient. But here's the most disturbing part. Most people never question it. They live their entire lives playing by rules they never created, following paths they never chose, and believing in ideas they never truly examined. Why? Because the system is not built to help you wake up. It's built to keep you asleep. And the best way to do that is to make you fear the truth. From childhood, you were taught a simple formula for life. Go to school, get a job, follow the rules, don't question authority, be a good citizen. And in return, you were promised happiness, security, and success. But here's the truth. That promise was a lie. Schools don't teach you how to think. They teach you how to obey. Jobs don't make you free. They make you dependent. Society doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards conformity. The system gives you just enough freedom to make you believe you're in control. But in reality, Every major decision has already been made for you. You were never supposed to think for yourself. You were supposed to follow the script. The modern world is filled with distractions, social media, entertainment, endless scrolling, news designed to keep you anxious but never informed. This isn't an accident. Distraction is the weapon used to keep you asleep. Because if you're always entertained, you'll never stop to question. And if you never question, you'll never wake up. Think about it. How many hours do people waste consuming content instead of creating something meaningful? How many people spend more time watching the lives of celebrities than improving their own? It's not just a bad habit. It's a form of control. Because a distracted mind is a weak mind, and weak minds are easy to manipulate. Throughout history, every society has had one enemy, the person who thinks for themselves. Socrates questioned the status quo, so they sentenced him to death. Galileo challenged the church, so they silenced him. Anyone who challenges the official narrative is labeled a conspiracy theorist. Why? Because truth is dangerous. Truth makes people question authority. Truth makes people reject control. And most importantly, truth makes people free. But the system doesn't want you to be free. It wants you to be comfortable enough to obey. Which brings us to the next act, the science of being on autopilot. Because the greatest trick society ever pulled was making you think you're awake. Think about the last major decision you made. Did you really choose it, or was it already chosen for you before you even realized? Because here's the disturbing truth. Most people don't think. They react. They follow patterns. They live life on autopilot, repeating the same actions, thinking the same thoughts, and making the same mistakes over and over again. And the worst part? They don't even realize it. The human brain is designed to conserve energy. It doesn't want to think deeply about every decision. So instead, it creates shortcuts, habits, routines, automatic reactions. This is why you don't need to think about brushing your teeth, driving to work, or unlocking your phone. Your brain has already programmed the action. But here's where it gets dangerous. What if this autopilot mode isn't just controlling small habits? What if it's controlling your entire life? What if your beliefs, opinions, and behaviors aren't really yours? What if they're just programs installed in your mind by society, media, and conditioning? Ever notice how hard it is to stop scrolling? Social media? Or why people keep watching episode after episode of a show they don't even like? It's because of one chemical, dopamine. Dopamine is the brain's reward chemical. Every time you check your phone, get a like on social media, watch a new video, eat junk food, your brain releases dopamine, and dopamine feels good. So your brain tells you, do that again. This is why people are addicted to entertainment, endless notifications, short-term pleasure, because the more dopamine you get, the more you crave it. And the more you crave it, the harder it is to focus, think deeply, or break free from autopilot. Ever wonder why social media knows exactly what to show you next? It's because companies like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram have designed AI algorithms that track your every move. They analyze what you watch, how long you watch it, what makes you stop scrolling. And then they give you more of it, not to help you, not to inform you, but to keep you watching, because your attention is money. And the longer they keep you hooked, the more money they make. This is why social media isn't just entertainment, it's a drug, and it's keeping you asleep. Here's the real problem. The longer you stay on autopilot, the weaker your mind becomes, the harder it is to think for yourself, the more easily you are controlled, because when you're living on autopilot, you're not making choices, you're following patterns, and patterns can be manipulated by society, by technology, by people who want you to stay distracted, passive, and obedient. But here's the good news. You can break free. You can rewire your mind. You can wake up. But first, you need to understand why most people choose to stay asleep. And that's what we're about to uncover. If you had a choice between an easy lie and a painful truth, which one would you choose? Because here's the reality. Most people don't. Stay asleep because they have to. They stay asleep because they want to. They choose comfort over growth, illusion over reality, and most importantly, they choose familiar suffering over unknown freedom. The human brain is designed to seek comfort and avoid pain. This is called the pain-pleasure principle. If something is pleasurable, your brain says, do it again. If something is painful, your brain says, avoid it. This is why most people stay in jobs they hate because quitting feels scary. Stay in toxic relationships because being alone feels worse. Ignore the truth because facing it would destroy their reality. In short, people would rather be comfortable in a lie than uncomfortable in the truth. The reason most people never wake up is simple. Waking up is painful. Because the moment you wake up and you realize you've wasted years doing things that don't matter. The people around you might not really understand. Everything you believed about success, happiness, and life was wrong. And that realization, it's terrifying. So what do people do? They run back to comfort, back to the illusion. Because even if they're trapped, at least the trap feels safe. There's a psychological reason why people reject the truth. When they first hear it, it's called cognitive dissonance. It happens when you're faced with new information, but it clashes with what you already believe. So instead of questioning your beliefs, you reject the new information. Example, if someone has spent years believing money buys happiness, and then they learn that millionaires still feel empty, instead of accepting the truth, their brain fights back. No, that can't be true. Maybe those rich people just don't know how to enjoy life. I don't want to hear this. Why? Because accepting the truth means admitting they've been wrong, and most people would rather stay wrong forever than admit they've wasted years chasing the wrong things. Do you remember the scene from The Matrix where Neo is offered 2 pills? The blue pill, stay asleep and live in a comfortable illusion. The red pill, wake up and see reality for what it really is. Most people think they'd choose the red pill, but in reality, they choose the blue pill every single day. They choose distraction over awareness. They choose comfort over growth. They choose entertainment over truth, because reality is ugly. And the truth? It hurts. But here's the real question. What happens when you take the red pill? What happens when you finally see reality for what it is? That's what we're about to uncover in What If I Told You That Every Major Decision You've Ever Made Wasn't Really Yours? That the job you have, the people you love, the beliefs you hold, were not chosen by you, but by something else? Because here's the truth. Most people don't have free will. They only think they do. Neurologists have discovered something terrifying. Your brain makes decisions before you're even aware of them. You think you chose to pick up your phone. You think you decided to scroll social media. You think you chose to eat that snack. Wrong. Your subconscious mind decided it first, and then your conscious mind created a story to justify it. This was proven in an experiment where scientists monitored people's brain activity. They asked them to press a button whenever they felt like it. Shockingly, their brain showed activity before they were even aware of their decision. In short, your mind controls you, not the other way around. But it gets worse, because even if your brain wasn't making decisions for you, society already did. Think about it. Your beliefs, taught by your parents and culture. Your definition of success, programmed by media and school. Your desires, created by advertisements and social norms. Every time you buy something, every time you make a choice, every time you think you're in control, there's a system behind the scenes shaping your behavior. And here's the scary part. You don't even realize it's happening. Your brain works like a computer algorithm. The more you watch certain content, the more similar content you crave. Think certain thoughts, the more those thoughts repeat. Follow certain routines, the more automatic they become. This is called neural conditioning, which means the more you repeat a behavior, the less free will you have. Your brain is just running old programs over and over again. This is why people stay in toxic relationships. This is why people stay broke. This is why people repeat bad habits, knowing they're bad, because they're not thinking, they're just running a script. how external forces hijack your willpower. If you still believe you have free will, answer this. Why do billions of people wake up and scroll their phones first thing in the morning? Why do people feel the urge to check notifications without even thinking? Why do most people work 9-to-5 jobs and retire at the same age? Because their minds have been hijacked by big tech, designing apps that control your dopamine, marketing giants manipulating your desires, governments and institutions conditioning you from birth to follow the system. You are being trained to think, feel, and behave exactly how they want. Here's a brutal truth. Most people have never had a single original thought. Everything they believe is a hand-me-down idea from someone else. Cultural norm they never questioned. Recycled opinion from media, religion, or school. People don't think, they just repeat. And that's why so few people ever break free. Ever heard of the Milgram experiment? It's one of the scariest psychology studies ever conducted. Participants were told to shock a person who was secretly an actor. A scientist, authority figure, kept telling them to increase the voltage. Even when the actor screamed in pain, 65% of participants kept going. Why? Because someone in a lab coat told them to. This proves, even when people know something is wrong, they still obey, because deep down, they were never truly in control. Do you actually have free will? Now ask yourself, if your brain makes decisions before you're aware, if society shapes your desires without you noticing, if authority figures can override your morality, do you actually have free will, or is it just an illusion? That's the real question. What if I told you that the strongest force controlling your life isn't logic, isn't intelligence, isn't even free will? It's fear, the invisible force that shapes your decisions, beliefs, reality. Because here's the truth, fear is the perfect weapon to keep people asleep. How fear stops people from questioning reality. Most people never wake up, not because they can't, but because they're too afraid to. Afraid of questioning authority, afraid of standing out from the crowd, afraid of what happens if they see the truth. Because waking up means accepting that your entire life may have been a lie, realizing that the people in power do not have your best interests at heart, facing the unknown without the comfort of the system protecting you, and that's terrifying. So most people, they choose to stay asleep. Fear is the most effective tool of control. Why? Because it hijacks your brain. Here's how it works. Fear triggers survival instincts. Your brain shifts into fight or flight mode. You stop thinking rationally. Your logic shuts down. When fear is high, reason is low. Scared people follow authority without questioning. You become dependent. When fear is overwhelming, you seek protection. And who do you turn to? The very system creating the fear. It's a perfect trap. Keep people scared, and they'll never think for themselves. Ever noticed how the news is always negative? There's a reason. Media doesn't inform you, it programs you. Fear of crime, fear of disease, fear of war, fear of collapse. Every day, it feeds your mind a crisis, because when you're afraid, you're easier to manipulate, you're more likely to obey, you're too distracted to question anything. And here's the kicker. The world isn't actually getting worse. You're just being told to feel like it is. But fear isn't just used by the system, it's used by society itself. Think about it. Why do people follow trends they don't like? Why do people keep quiet when they disagree? Why do people fake happiness online? Because they fear judgment, because they fear being outcast, because they fear standing alone. Most people would rather stay asleep in a lie than risk being awake and alone. That's how powerful fear is. The ultimate fear, the fear of truth. Now, here's the darkest truth of all. Most people don't fear pain. Most people don't fear struggle. What they really fear is truth, because truth is uncomfortable, chaotic, dangerous. Truth shatters illusions. It destroys comfort. It forces people to change, and nothing scares the average person more than change. So instead of facing the truth, they run, they distract themselves, they choose the lie. Because ignorance feels safer than reality. But here's the secret. They don't want you to know. Once you face your fears, once you accept the truth, you become unstoppable. You stop seeking approval. You stop following blindly. You start thinking for yourself. And that's why fear is necessary for control. Because the moment you stop fearing, you wake up. And in Act 7, The Comfort of Distraction, how most people avoid reality. We'll reveal how entertainment is being used to keep you asleep. What if I told you that most people don't actually live their lives? They just distract themselves until they die. Every single day, they avoid reality, and they don't even know it, because distraction isn't just a bad habit. It's a carefully designed system, a system built to keep you asleep. Because if you ever stopped consuming, if you ever sat in silence, if you ever truly thought for yourself, you might wake up. And the system can't afford that. Most people think they're in control of their time. They're not. Their time is being stolen. Endless scrolling on social media, binge-watching TV shows for hours, mindlessly consuming news, gossip, and drama, drowning in video games, entertainment, and cheap dopamine. And here's the crazy part. People don't even realize they're trapped because these distractions feel normal. They feel harmless, but they're not. They're the reason. People don't have time for deep thinking. People don't question their reality. People never break free, because if you keep someone entertained, you don't need to control them. They'll control themselves. The science of distraction, how it hijacks your mind. Here's how distraction works. Dopamine addiction. Every time you scroll, swipe, or watch, you get a dopamine hit. Your brain craves more, so you keep going. Mental numbing distraction makes your brain lazy. You stop thinking critically. You become passive. Time erosion. You think you're just checking your phone, but suddenly hours disappear and you've achieved nothing. It's not an accident. It's by design, because the system profits from keeping you distracted. But here's the real price of distraction. It steals your potential. You could be building something. You could be learning a skill. You could be improving your mind. But instead, you waste hours watching others live their lives. It weakens your mind. The more distracted you are, the less you think for yourself. Your brain stops being sharp. You lose the ability to focus. It makes you easy to control. A distracted person is a weak person. They don't question authority. They don't challenge the system. They just consume over and over again until one day they wake up too late. Look at Hollywood. Look at Netflix. Look at video games. They're not just entertainment. They're escapes. Why do you think there's endless content, never-ending social media feeds, infinite distractions to keep you engaged? Because if you stayed still for just a moment, you might start thinking. You might start asking questions. And that's dangerous, because when you wake up, you stop being a consumer and start being a creator. Here's the most terrifying truth. Most people aren't addicted to distraction because they love entertainment. They're addicted because they fear silence. They fear being alone with their own thoughts, because deep down, they know their life isn't what it should be. They know they're wasting their potential. They know they're asleep. And instead of facing it, they escape, because distraction feels easier than the truth. But here's the real question. What if you finally stopped running? What if you faced yourself? What if you broke free? The moment you cut out distractions, you take back control of your time. Your mind becomes sharp and focused. You start thinking for yourself. And that's why distraction exists. Because if you ever became fully aware, you'd become unstoppable. And in Act 8, the wake-up call, the pain of seeing the truth, we'll reveal why waking up isn't easy. Because the moment you see reality, it will break you. What if I told you that waking up is not a moment of enlightenment? It's a moment of pain, because when you finally see reality for what it is, it destroys you. Most people think they want the truth, but the truth isn't beautiful. It's harsh. And that's why so few people ever wake up. Because once you see the world as it really is, there's no going back. The journey to waking up isn't easy. It happens in 5 brutal stages. 1. Shock. How could I have been blind for so long? The first time you realize the world isn't what you thought, it feels like the ground is falling beneath you. 2. Denial. This can't be true. Your mind fights against the truth. You try to convince yourself that you were right all along. 3. Anger. I've been lied to. You start to see how deeply you've been manipulated. You resent the system, the media, the people who kept you blind. 4. Acceptance. This is the way things are. You stop fighting reality, you start rebuilding your mind from scratch. 5. Action. Now that I see the truth, what do I do? This is where most people fail, because knowing the truth is one thing, but acting on it, that's the hardest part, why most people turn back. Most people never get past stage 2, because waking up is painful, and when they first feel the discomfort, they turn back. They drown themselves in entertainment. They go back to their old beliefs. They convince themselves they were happier before, because staying asleep feels easier than facing the truth. But if you keep running from reality, you'll spend your whole life living in a lie. Look at people who escape toxic relationships, or people who leave manipulative religions, cults, or abusive systems. At first, they feel free, but then reality hits them. They feel lost, because everything they thought they knew was a lie. And that's the most terrifying feeling in the world, because if the past was fake, then what is real, and who are they now? One of the biggest reasons people refuse to wake up is because waking up can make you feel alone. When you see the truth, you realize that most people around you are still asleep. They still believe the media. They still trust the system. They still live in illusion. And if you try to wake them up, they attack you because the truth is too painful for them to accept. That's why so many great thinkers, philosophers, and revolutionaries were hated in their time, because they saw too much, and people fear those who see reality. When you wake up, it feels like a death, the death of who you used to be, because you're not just changing your mind, you're killing your old self, and that's why most people stay blind. Because deep down, they don't want to die, even if that means living a lie. Right now, you have 2 choices. Stay asleep, ignore the truth, go back to comfort, keep living like nothing is wrong. Wake up, face reality, no matter how painful. Rebuild your mind, take control of your life. But understand this, waking up means pain, because it means taking responsibility for everything in your life. And most people aren't strong enough to do that. But if you are, then in Act 9, how to escape the system that controls you. We'll break down exactly how to take back your mind and how to finally break free. If you think you're free, you're wrong, because the system that controls you is invisible. It doesn't use chains or prisons. It doesn't force you with guns or violence. It controls you through your own mind. And the only way to break free is to see how deep the control goes. Step 1. Question everything you've been told. From the day you were born, you've been fed a script. What to believe, what to fear, what to think is normal. Your beliefs didn't come from you. They came from the system. So, the first step to breaking free is to question everything. Ask yourself, who benefits from me believing this? What if everything I was taught was wrong? What do I actually believe without society's influence? Because once you start questioning reality, the cracks in the illusion begin to appear. Step 2. Disconnect from the distraction machine. Most people never wake up because they're too distracted. The system floods your mind with endless noise. Social media, news cycles, celebrity gossip, endless entertainment, not because they care about your enjoyment, but because they want to keep you blind. The less you think, the easier you are to control. So if you want to escape the system, you must disconnect. Reduce screen time. Cut out useless content. Stop engaging in mindless distractions, because when your mind is silent, that's when you truly start seeing. Step 3. Escape the mental prison of fear. Fear is the greatest weapon of control. They use it to keep you obedient. Fear of judgment, fear of being alone, fear of the unknown. Because as long as you fear something, they own you. The way out? Face the fear directly. Fear of being different? Embrace it. Fear of failure? Chase it. Fear of speaking your mind? Do it anyway, because the moment you stop fearing, you become uncontrollable. Step 4. Break the social conditioning. You've been taught that happiness comes from a stable job, a big house, social approval. But who decided that? Who told you that success, obeying the system, the truth, is society's version of success, is a trap? You work to survive. You survive to work. You waste your life chasing illusions. So ask yourself, what do I actually want? Not what society wants, not what your parents want, not what the system wants. What do you want? Because until you define your own life, you'll always be living someone else's script. Step 5. Build a mind that can't be controlled. The final step? You must reprogram your mind for freedom. Read books that challenge your beliefs. Have deep conversations with thinkers, not followers. Learn skills that make you independent. Spend time alone to understand your own thoughts, because a free mind is a mind that can't be controlled. And once you build that, the system loses its power over you. Let's be honest, most people won't do this. They'll stay comfortable, they'll stay blind, they'll keep following the script. Because thinking for yourself is hard, but here's the secret. That's why the few who do rise above the rest, because when you break free, you don't just escape the system, you become stronger than it. So, now you have a choice. Stay asleep, follow the crowd, obey the system, live like everyone else. Wake up, take back your mind, question everything, escape the invisible prison. But just know this, once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. And in Act 10, the power of thinking for yourself, we'll uncover the final weapon the system fears the most. A mind that thinks independently. Most people never have an original thought in their lives. They think they do, but in reality, their opinions are just recycled ideas from the media they consume, the culture they grew up in, the people they surround themselves with. But what if I told you that true freedom only begins when you start thinking for yourself? Step 1. Recognizing mental conditioning. The first step to independent thinking? Recognizing that your thoughts are not truly yours. Think about it. Why do you believe what you believe? Who taught you what is right and wrong? How many of your opinions are actually yours versus what you've been told to believe? Society has already programmed you. The key is to see the programming. Once you do, you can start rewriting the script. Step 2. Question everything, even yourself. Independent thinking is not just about questioning the world, it's about questioning yourself, because if you never challenge your own beliefs, you're just another slave to the system. Ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? What if what I believe is just comfortable, not true? What if my entire worldview is based on lies? The moment you start asking these questions, you open the door to true awareness. Step 3. Break free from groupthink. Most people don't think, they follow. They repeat what they hear. They conform to social norms. They fear being an outcast more than being wrong. This is called groupthink. And if you don't escape it, you will never be free. The way out? Be willing to stand alone. Think critically. Challenge common beliefs. Have the courage to be different. Because the strongest minds are the ones that don't need a crowd. Step 4. The dangerous power of independent thinkers. Throughout history, the most dangerous people were the ones who thought differently. Socrates was sentenced to death for corrupting the youth by making them think. Galileo was silenced for challenging the church's view of the universe. Every revolution, every major change started with someone who refused to follow the herd. And today, governments fear independent thinkers. Corporations don't want people who question their products. The media doesn't want you thinking for yourself. Why? because a thinking mind cannot be controlled. Step 5. How to train your mind for independent thought. Thinking for yourself is a skill, and like any skill, it must be trained. Here's how. Read books that challenge your beliefs. Don't just read what you agree with, read the opposite perspective. Spend time in deep reflection. Write down your thoughts. Ask yourself why you believe certain things. Engage in debates. Seek out intelligent people who think differently from you. Argue your point, but also be open to changing your mind. Spend time alone. The more you disconnect from external noise, the clearer your thinking becomes. Because if you don't train your mind, someone else will train it for you. The truth is, most people will never think for themselves. It's too uncomfortable. It's too lonely. It requires too much effort. But those who do, they become powerful beyond measure. Because when you control your own mind, no one else can control it for you. The question is, are you brave enough to think for yourself? Imagine a prison so powerful that most people never realize they are trapped inside it. A prison with no bars, no walls, no guards. Yet it controls billions of people every single day. This prison is the mind, and unless you break free, you will live your entire life as a prisoner of your own thoughts. Step 1. Understanding the mental prison. What is mental slavery? It's when your mind is not your own. You think what you've been taught to think. You desire what you've been programmed to desire. You react exactly how you've been conditioned to react. It is the most dangerous form of control because, unlike physical chains, mental chains cannot be seen. Step 2. How society traps your mind. Most people are not free. They are mentally trapped by fear of failure, of rejection, of the unknown. Distractions, entertainment, news, meaningless drama. False beliefs, ideas that were planted in their minds to control them. And the worst part, they defend their own prison. If you try to wake them up, they fight you, because escaping mental slavery requires courage. Step 3. The first step to mental freedom. The first step to freedom? You must realize one painful truth. Most of what you believe is not truly yours. Your opinions were shaped by others. Your fears were given to you. Your goals were decided for you. But the moment you see the programming, you can start erasing it. This is how real freedom begins. Step 4. The power of mental reprogramming. Once you break free from old conditioning, you must reprogram your mind with truth. Control your inputs. Stop letting the media poison your mind. Choose what you consume carefully. Train your thinking. Question everything. Write your thoughts. Challenge your own beliefs. Detach from fear. Fear is the strongest weapon used to control you. Once you stop fearing failure, judgment, and loss, you become unstoppable. Step 5. Why free minds are the most powerful. Throughout history, the most powerful people were those who controlled their own minds. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled Rome with unshakable mental discipline. Buddha, who rejected worldly illusions to master his thoughts. Nikola Tesla, who used solitude to develop world-changing ideas. What do they all have in common? They freed their minds from external control. And because of that, they changed the world. Final thought, the test of true freedom. Mental freedom is not given, it is earned. Most people will never be free. They are too addicted to comfort, too afraid of the unknown, too controlled by fear. But those who break free, they become untouchable, because when you control your mind, you control your entire reality. The only question is, are you brave enough to take control? And in ACT 12, why most people never wake up, we'll reveal why so few people ever escape this trap. Most people will never wake up, not because they can't, but because they don't want to. Waking up is painful. It forces you to face reality. It makes you question everything you were taught to believe, and that is terrifying. So instead of waking up, most people choose to stay asleep because it's easier. Step 1. Why people resist the truth. Have you ever told someone the truth and they refused to believe it, even when the evidence was right in front of them? Step 5. How to train your mind for independent thought. Thinking for yourself is a skill, and like any skill, it must be trained. Here's how. Read books that challenge your beliefs. Don't just read what you agree with, read the opposite perspective. Spend time in deep reflection. Write down your thoughts. Ask yourself why you believe certain things. Engage in debates. Seek out intelligent people who think differently from you. Argue your point, but also be open to changing your mind. Spend time alone. The more you disconnect from external noise, the clearer your thinking becomes. Because if you don't train your mind, someone else will train it for you. The truth is, most people will never think for themselves. It's too uncomfortable. It's too lonely. It requires too much effort. But those who do, they become powerful beyond measure. Because when you control your own mind, no one else can control it for you. The question is, are you brave enough to think for yourself? Imagine a prison so powerful that most people never realize they are trapped inside it. A prison with no bars, no walls, no guards. Yet it controls billions of people every single day. This prison is the mind, and unless you break free, you will live your entire life as a prisoner of your own thoughts. Step 1. Understanding the mental prison. What is mental slavery? It's when your mind is not your own. You think what you've been taught to think. You desire what you've been programmed to desire. You react exactly how you've been conditioned to react. It is the most dangerous form of control because, unlike physical chains, mental chains cannot be seen. Step 2. How society traps your mind. Most people are not free. They are mentally trapped by fear of failure, of rejection, of the unknown. Distractions, entertainment, news, meaningless drama. False beliefs, ideas that were planted in their minds to control them. And the worst part, they defend their own prison. If you try to wake them up, they fight you, because escaping mental slavery requires courage. Step 3. The first step to mental freedom. The first step to freedom? You must realize one painful truth. Most of what you believe is not truly yours. Your opinions were shaped by others. Your fears were given to you. Your goals were decided for you. But the moment you see the programming, you can start erasing it. This is how real freedom begins. Step 4. The power of mental reprogramming. Once you break free from old conditioning, you must reprogram your mind with truth. Control your inputs. Stop letting the media poison your mind. Choose what you consume carefully. Train your thinking. Question everything. Write your thoughts. Challenge your own beliefs. Detach from fear. Fear is the strongest weapon used to control you. Once you stop fearing failure, judgment, and loss, you become unstoppable. Step 5. Why free minds are the most powerful. Throughout history, the most powerful people were those who controlled their own minds. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled Rome with unshakable mental discipline. Buddha, who rejected worldly illusions to master his thoughts. Nikola Tesla, who used solitude to develop world-changing ideas. What do they all have in common? They freed their minds from external control. And because of that, they changed the world. Final thought, the test of true freedom. Mental freedom is not given, it is earned. Most people will never be free. They are too addicted to comfort, too afraid of the unknown, too controlled by fear. But those who break free, they become untouchable, because when you control your mind, you control your entire reality. The only question is, are you brave enough to take control? And in ACT 12, why most people never wake up, we'll reveal why so few people ever escape this trap. Most people will never wake up, not because they can't, but because they don't want to. Waking up is painful. It forces you to face reality. It makes you question everything you were taught to believe, and that is terrifying. So instead of waking up, most people choose to stay asleep. because it's easier. Step 1. Why people resist the truth. Have you ever told someone the truth and they refused to believe it, even when the evidence was right in front of them? That's because of psychological resistance. When people hear a truth that threatens their worldview, their brain shuts down. They get defensive. They attack the messenger. They reject the truth, even if it's obvious. Why? Because accepting the truth means admitting they were wrong. And for most people, that's too painful to handle. Step 2. The fear of losing comfort. Waking up destroys illusions, and most people depend on those illusions for their happiness. They want to believe the system is fair. They want to believe they have free will. They want to believe their life has meaning without effort. If they accept the truth, they lose their comfort. And for most people, comfort is more important than reality. Step 3. The cycle of self-deception. Most people lie to themselves every single day. I'll change my life one day. I'm happy where I am. I have everything under control. But deep down, they know they are lying. They know they are wasting time. They know they are avoiding the truth. But instead of fixing their life, they distract themselves with entertainment, with social media, with useless debates, anything to avoid facing reality. Step 4. The rare few who wake up. So if most people never wake up, who does? Only a small percentage of people ever break free, because waking up requires something rare. Courage. It takes courage to question everything. Admit you were wrong. Walk away from the herd. Most people don't have that courage. That's why history is written by the few, while the rest follow. Step 5. The test. Are you truly awake? How do you know if you're truly awake? Ask yourself these 3 questions. Do you question everything, including your own beliefs? If not, you are still asleep. Are you willing to change, even if it's painful? If not, you are still asleep. Do you take control of your life or blame external forces? If you blame, you are still asleep. Waking up is not just about knowledge, it's about action. Most people know the truth, but they do nothing about it. That's why they never escape. Waking up comes with a cost. You will lose friends, you will lose comfort, you will lose illusions. But in return, you gain power, because when you are truly awake, no one can lie to you. No one can manipulate you. No one can control your mind. And in ACT 13, Reprogramming Your Mind for Awareness and Action, we will break down the exact process to train your mind and ensure that once you wake up, you never fall asleep again. Your mind is not free. It's a program. And right now, that program was written by others, schools, media, society. Every belief you have was installed into you. But here's the truth. You can rewrite it. You can reprogram your mind to think clearly and take control of your life. But first, you need to delete the old program. Step 1. The art of questioning everything. The first step to reprogramming your mind is simple. Question everything. Ask yourself, why do I believe what I believe? Who taught me this? And what was their agenda? Is this belief helping me or controlling me? When you start asking these questions, you realize something terrifying. Most of your thoughts aren't yours. They were given to you by the system, and if you never question them, you remain a puppet. Step 2. The power of writing down your thoughts. Your mind is a battlefield. Every day you have thousands of thoughts, and most of them are repetitive noise. If you don't control your thoughts will control you. That's why you must start writing, not typing, physically writing, because when you write, you slow down your thinking. You see your thoughts clearly. You separate truth from illusion. Every powerful thinker in history kept a journal. And if you want to reprogram your mind, you must do the same. Step 3. The digital detox. How to clean your mental software. Your mind is constantly under attack. From the moment you wake up, you are bombarded with noise, social media, news, advertisements. If you don't filter what enters your mind will be filled with garbage. That's why you need a digital detox. Not forever, just long enough to reset your brain. Turn off notifications. Take breaks from social media. Stop watching mindless content because you become what you consume. And if you consume garbage, your mind will think like garbage. Step 4. The science of deep reflection. Most people never think deeply. They just react. React to news, react to emotions, react to other people's opinions. If you want to truly wake up, you need to think deeply. That means spending time alone, walking without distractions, questioning your past decisions. Deep thinking is a lost skill, but if you master it, you will see what most people never see. Step 5. How to program your mind for action. Knowing the truth is useless. If you don't act on it, most people stay stuck because they overthink. They wait for the perfect time to change. But the truth is, the perfect time never comes. Waiting is just another form of fear. Action is the only cure. That's why you must train your brain for immediate action. Every time you hesitate, tell yourself, do it now. Want to start a business? Start researching today. Want to get in shape? Do 10 push-ups now. Want to break free from distractions? Delete one useless app right now. Because action rewires the brain, and the more you act, the more powerful your mind becomes. Right now, your mind is a building. But who built it? Was it built by you, or was it constructed by others? If you don't take control, someone else will. We will break down how to stay awake forever, because the hardest part isn't waking up, it's staying awake. Waking up is painful, but staying awake? That's even harder, because the moment you wake up, the system tries to pull you back in. Friends will say you've changed. Society will pressure you to fit in. Your own mind will try to pull you back into old habits. That's why most people fall back asleep. But the ones who stay awake, they become unstoppable. Step 1. The danger of falling back asleep. The system is built for one purpose, to make you comfortable, because comfort is the easiest way to control people. Think about it. People stay in toxic relationships because it's comfortable. They stay in jobs they hate because it's safe. They follow the rules because it's easier. But comfort is the enemy of consciousness, because the moment you get comfortable, you stop questioning, you stop thinking, and slowly, you fall back asleep. Step 2. How to train your brain to stay awake. Your brain wants to take shortcuts. It wants to go back to autopilot mode, but you must force it to stay awake. How? Daily self-reflection. Every night ask yourself, did I live today consciously? Did I question my beliefs? Did I act with awareness, or did I follow the script? Avoiding mindless distractions. Be careful what you consume. Social media trains you to think less. Endless entertainment keeps you sedated. News cycles keep you emotionally reactive, not logically aware. Practicing presence. Train your mind to live in the moment. Observe your surroundings deeply. Notice how people behave unconsciously. Be aware of your own automatic reactions, because the more present you become, the less control the system has over you. Step 3. The power of isolation and solitude. Most people are terrified of being alone. Why? Because solitude forces them to face themselves, and that's what they fear the most. But if you want to stay awake, you must learn to love solitude, because in solitude, you hear your own thoughts clearly. You break free from outside influences. You develop true independence of mind. Look at history. Great philosophers isolated themselves to think. Great warriors trained alone before battle. Great leaders disconnected before making world-changing decisions, because solitude isn't loneliness, it's freedom. Step 4. How to deal with resistance from society. When you start living consciously, people will resist you. Friends might call you too serious. Family might think you're losing yourself. Society will pressure you to conform again. Why? Because when you wake up, you threaten their reality. If you start questioning life, they might have to question it too, and that scares them. So they will try to pull you back in. But here's the truth. You don't need approval. You don't need permission. You only need clarity of mind. If you can see through the illusion, it can never trap you again. Step 5. How to. Make consciousness a way of life. The real challenge isn't waking up once, it's staying awake forever. Here's how. Constant learning. Always seek new knowledge. Critical thinking. Question even your own thoughts. Discomfort training. Get used to uncertainty and challenge, because the moment you stop thinking, you fall back asleep. And if you fall asleep, you become just another pawn in the system. Most people never wake up, but the few who do. They realize something terrifying. It never ends, because awareness is a constant battle. You will have days when you feel lost, days when you wish you could go back to ignorance, days when the truth feels too heavy. But here's the reality. Once you wake up, you can never truly go back. You can pretend, you can try to forget, but deep inside, you will always know. That's why in ACT 15, the final revelation, we will uncover the ultimate truth about waking up and why the world fears those who truly see. Most people never wake up. They live their lives in illusion, following paths they never chose, believing things they never questioned, living in a reality that was built for them, not by them, but the few who truly wake up. They see the world as it really is, and once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. Step 1. The reality of a fully awake mind. When you wake up, you realize something terrifying. You are completely alone in your mind. No one is coming to save you. Every choice you make is your responsibility. This is why most people reject the truth, because living consciously is hard. It means no blaming others for your failures, no running from uncomfortable realities, no escaping into distraction and denial. You become fully responsible for your own life, and that level of awareness, it's not for the weak. Step 2. Why the system hates awake people. When you wake up, you stop playing by the rules. You stop being easily manipulated. You stop buying things you don't need. You stop fearing things that were designed to control you, and that makes you dangerous, because an awake man cannot be controlled. He doesn't follow trends. He doesn't live for approval. He doesn't obey blindly, and that's why society fears independent thinkers. Throughout history, those who saw reality for what it was were either silenced, exiled, or destroyed because the system does not want you awake. Step 3. The two paths, sleep or power. Every person must make a choice. Go back to sleep. Live comfortably, follow the crowd. Never question anything. Or 2. Stay awake, take control, face reality, build your own path. Most people choose sleep. Why? Because it's easier. You never have to think too deeply. You never have to challenge yourself. You never have to be uncomfortable. But those who choose to stay awake, they become something else. Step 4. The power of an awake mind. A man who is fully awake is unstoppable. He doesn't react emotionally. He thinks critically. He doesn't follow blindly. He questions everything. He doesn't fear discomfort. He embraces it. This is why the most powerful people in history understood something simple: control people's minds, and you control their reality. But if you control your own mind, no one can control you. Step 5. What happens when you wake up? Here's what really happens when you fully wake up. You start seeing patterns everywhere. The way people are manipulated, the way distractions are designed, the way systems are built to control. You stop seeking validation. You don't care about fitting in. You don't need external approval. You live life on your own terms. You become fearless. Fear no longer controls your actions. You no longer hesitate to do what's necessary. You become independent of the system and the moment. You stop playing their game. You win. The truth is simple. Most people live their entire lives asleep. But those who wake up, they see the world for what it really is. And once you see it, you realize something powerful. You are free. You are in control. You create your own reality. The only question is, are you truly awake or just dreaming of freedom?